Abigail Shag. I'm the Associate Dean for the School of Business here at North Central. I'm so glad that you could take some time out of your day to join us for the SB Speaker Series presentation. Today, we are going to hear from Dr. Olgerta Visi, who is our program lead for the MHRM program. So we're excited to have her. There should be some time at the end for questions, and there's a Q&A pod as well as a chat area. So if you have any questions along the way, you are welcome to add it, and we can get them to Dr. Visi whenever she has time. So thank you again for your time, Dr. Visi, and whenever you're ready, take it away.
Absolutely, Abigail. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I want to excuse in advance because I've been a little sick these days and my voice, it's not that much like the best option ever, but I'll try to be as clear as possible. Okay, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. And I'm Dr. Olgerta Visi. As Abigail said, I'm an associate professor and program lead for the Master in Human Resource Management for the School of Business here at NCU. In this webinar, we'll be discussing about employment trends and skills in the 21st century, specifically in this industrial revolution that has completely transformed the societies we live and the economies we work in. Okay, so today's agenda will include what does the fourth industrial revolution entail and how is the leap from innovation to disruptive innovation perceived. We're going to touch upon the world of work and how is it changing in the fourth industrial revolution, the future of the workforce on one hand and the future of the organization in the limelight of this fourth industrial revolution. And we're going to see after that on some practical tips and tricks what we look for when we look for a job in the 21st century, top 10 skills we need to succeed in 2020, and an overview on the jobs landscape in 2022. So I want to take a minute and bring an overall perspective on the Industrial Revolution timeline. The fourth industrial revolution definitely represents a fundamental change in the way we live, work, relate to one another, and in its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation is unlike anything else that humankind has experienced before. But how did we get to here? So the first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize and automate production. The second one used the electric power to create mass production. The third used electronics and information technology to automate further the production lines and production in general, while the fourth industrial revolution is building upon the third one as a continuation of the digital revolution that started way back in the middle of last century. But if you would define it with just one word, it will be velocity. Velocity is the key to the fourth industrial revolution. The speed of current breakthroughs has definitely no historical precedent. And when we compare it with previous industrial revolutions, the fourth is evolving at an exponential rather than a linear pace. It's bringing in our lives not only new inventions, but it's supplying with disruptive technology in almost every industry and every country. And so I want to share with you a short video on what are we to expect from this fourth industrial revolution, what will it bring forth as depicted by the World Economic Forum in 2019.
Are wondering what is happening to the world. Everything is changing.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
Our bodies will be so high tech, we won't be able to really distinguish between what's natural and what's artificial.
Inside our own heads is the most complex arrangement of matter in the known universe.
You might ask yourself, can we get to be superhumans?
The original Industrial Revolution was driven by the discovery that you could use steam engines to do all kinds of interesting things.
That was followed by additional revolutions for electricity and computers and communications technology. We're now in the early stages of the fourth industrial revolution, which is bringing together digital, physical, and biological systems.
One of the features of this fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we are doing, but it changes us.
With the ability to visualize brain activity, for example, through a simple consumer-based EEG device, it gives us access to ourselves in ways that we've never before thought possible. It unlocks the black box that is the brain and enables us to really, truly be able to realize an identity that is aspirational.
There's now a scientific foundation for the effects of mindfulness on the brain, on the genome, on biological aging. And when the human mind does know itself, then you get the potential for a new renaissance that restructures itself in terms of our relationship to life, our relationship to the planet, our relationship to work.
We need a different economic model. By that, I don't mean capitalism versus communism. What I'm talking about is a shift in the system along the lines of the two big changes that happened in the 20th century, Keynesianism, with a much greater focus on health and education and the role of government working with business, and then a reaction against that in late century to neoliberalism, where the focus was on free markets, freedom of the individual, and getting governments out of the way. We need a shift to a new system that will allow us to meet the basic needs of every human on the planet, that will live within planetary means, that will be fairer, and that will be focused as its key goal, not on growth per se, but on maximizing human well-being. And history tells us that a value shift is triggered by creation of a new story about how we want to live.
I see the circular economy as something which fits very closely with mankind's goal to be innovative and creative and to always progress. We can use asset tracking, we can use IT, we can use 3D printing to enable this different economic model to recover materials, feed them back into the economy, and really to decouple growth from the resource constraints we have.
The reason we live in cities is not different today than it was 10,000 years ago. Even if we have got networks connecting us, we still want to have places where we meet in person. So this means the place where we work and the place where we live are much closer to each other. A city where we don't need to have big supply chains in order to produce things, where many things can be sourced locally thanks to 3D printing and robotics. So if we're able to do something to transform cities, to make it more efficient, then the impact can be huge.
Think about the prospect of getting rid of plastics. We must not only be inspired or informed by nature, but actually use natural organisms with which to design products and building parts. Only instead of varying material properties, we're varying biological functionality.
Design is critical today because it's the first signal of human intention. So the question of adding quality to quantity, but isn't a matter of simply circulating things that are potentially toxic. It's circulating things that are safe and healthy for all generations. So the goal is no longer, I want to be less bad, less monotonous, less unsafe, less unjust. It's really about a diverse, safe, healthy, and just world with clean air, clean water, clean soil, clean energy.
Together we are fighting to preserve our fragile climate from irreversible damage and devastation of unthinkable proportions.
We think about the original Industrial Revolution, it was an energy revolution. I like to think of it as a kind of bookending of a period in human history during which we used fossil fuels, and it worked very well for us for a long time. But now we have to bring that to an end. We have energy technologies that can power our civilization: solar, wind, biomass. So then the question is, well, how do we get good integration? Maybe the wind is blowing in Denmark, the sun is shining in Germany, and now you can move that electricity through an integrated grid. You can supply energy to everyone who needs it, and you can supply energy at all times.
Walking around, you do see different stuff, as far as like the body marriage line. They use a lot of things that help them lift up and move things to the car. You just sit there and, you know, program something, and it has its own set mind to go ahead and do everything. And then as humans, we just come in and take the extra step to help the technology.
It's not the cure-all for everything. There's definitely a lot of things where people perform the operation better, but certainly for the right applications, robotics are a huge improvement in the process.
The prediction of 5 million jobs lost by 2020 to technology is serious, but it's not the main question. Construction, manufacturing, services, public health and education, these industries will still exist. The main question is, what will be the future of work? How will we define work? How will we share the wealth?
From the viewpoint of the labor or jobs, now we really need new education or new training.
We're working with a World in Motion and First Robotics, trying to encourage students from 3rd grade all the way up through the end of high school. We had students make sailboats, and then we had them race them, and so they could see how quickly they could move. And they immediately went back and started to say, oh, I saw what happened, I'm going to go change this or that. And that was 3rd graders.
I just given a prize to a kid of 18 years old that has discovered something really very, very unique. Came up with how to get better productivity and better yields for seeds of corn. And so he basically came with the idea that if you would perforate these seeds, you would get more food. And you think about it and say, but he didn't go to university. So how does he get all that knowledge? And he told me, I mean, I've been watching YouTube since the age of 12, and I'm so interested that I've seen everything about it. I've read everything about it. The world is really open to learning. The thing is, how do you give the incentive to your kids to do that?
It's this ability of digital technology to change outcomes, to truly empower people all over the world that can create a more equitable growth, because I think the world needs that.
Fourth industrial revolution has the potential to make inequalities visible and to make them less acceptable in the future, and hopefully to gather and garner political support to take the necessary decision to reduce the gap.
Humans have always been using tools, but because of the recent advances in technology, we're beginning to have machines that can augment us in all sorts of interesting ways.
I was the first person in the world to be able to voluntarily move my legs while stepping in a robot by exciting the nervous system using electrical stimulators directly onto the spine. We believe that a cure will be possible if enough of the right people have the will to fast-track a cure for paralysis.
We take two things from the patients. First, we take a three-dimensional X-ray and we extract the three-dimensional data out of that so we can make a perfectly shaped puzzle piece. And then we also take a sample of fat tissue from the patient so that we can extract the stem cells out of those. And we use those stem cells with this three-dimensional scaffold that we fabricate. And after 3 weeks, we have a piece of living bone that's ready for implantation.
Being able to use genome editing to understand the genetic changes that lead to cancer, and technologies like drug delivery, getting molecules into particular types of cells. There's a lot of excitement about being able to move much more quickly on this disease.
one of the things that I think is so essential to free and open societies is freedom of thought. And up until now, the conversation we've been having is around freedom of speech. Once we can access people's thoughts and access people's emotion, we have to create a space that enables people to think freely, to think divergent thoughts, to think creative thoughts. And in a society where people fear having those thoughts, the likelihood of being able to enjoy progress is significantly diminished.
We need to take responsibility at every level of society, from the individual and the person to the institutional to the global, to adapt to these technological challenges and changes, which are redefining what it means to be human, what it means to work, what it means to be completely embedded in this world.
People always ask me if I'm an optimist or a pessimist. The technology exists, but how do we get it and implement it at the scale we need at a price that people around the world can afford?
Even though we have everyday problems we have to solve, we have to find a way to lay the foundations for the innovations of tomorrow.
So as the video portrayed, innovation and disruptive innovation and technologies are at the forefront of this fourth industrial revolution. And the difference between them, it's not a huge gap. If we talk in terms of innovation, we talk in terms of novelty in the form of a device or a technology, a method, a new idea, something that is creative, something that impacts a lot of the things that we do daily. And it's perceived more as an approval to these things. For example, some innovative technological inventions will include wind turbines, solar power, ocean wave power. The most effective innovations supersede just a product or a technological platform. The innovation needs to start with the business itself in order to be sustainable. So it's the innovations to organizations and management initially that perceive product and technology, technological innovation. And David Burkus says it right. He says, great leaders don't innovate just a product, they innovate the entire factory. So innovations are constantly occurring in everyday society, in every industry, but to be truly disruptive, an innovation must entirely transform a product or a solution or a way a market or an industry functions. Making previous things or old things seem obsolete compared to the new invention. In the business theory, a disruptive innovation is an innovation that creates a new market. It adds value to a new network, and it eventually disrupts the existing market and the existing network. It sometimes displaces the market leading firms or products or economic alliances. For example, what internet did. What internet did is significantly altered the way companies did business, which in turn negatively impacted companies that were not willing to adapt to that. But that comes with a cost of disruptive innovation. So what will make for successful disruptive innovation? 3 are the main pillars: innovative technology, innovative business model, and creation of a network of value. So an innovative technology will make a product or a group of products more affordable and accessible to a wider population. An innovative business model targets not specifically new consumers, but particularly segments of the market or of the population that will be excited to embrace a new way of doing business. And when we talk about creating a network that will bring value, this network needs to bring value to all the stakeholders: suppliers, partners, consumers, distributors, and at the end, each and every one of them needs to feel better off in this new reality compared to the old one. So for example, video streaming. on platforms like Hulu or HBO, they're not only obvious improvements over the cable or the blockbuster, but it's clear how radical the disruption they brought is. Or what Airbnb did to hospitality industry, or Facebook did to communication, or Netflix did to entertainment. They changed the way we connect, we communicate, and we entertain ourselves. So does this one look familiar? It is so interesting and so strange that in just 10 years, the drone displaced the cameraman, the camera, and the pilot. And the emerging technologies and the breakthroughs are occurring in all fields: artificial intelligence, robotics, self-driving vehicles, 3D printing, nanotechnology, quantum computing, from self-driving cars and drones to virtual assistants. Or we have a plethora of software that translates or helps us make investment decisions as well. So what did this innovation abound to? Every one of us have heard and have used probably one of these firms in here: Apple, Google, Skype. They definitely disrupted the market that they were in. And with this fourth industrial revolution, it came the potential to raise global incomes and grow global income levels and improve the quality of life of everybody, of the populations all around the world. The people of the population groups that have gained the most from it are the consumers that are able to afford the access of the digital world. And usually, technology has made possible new products and services that increase the efficiency and pleasure of our personal lives. Ordering a cab, watching a movie, booking a flight, buying a product, making a payment. These are all things that can be done completely remotely, and we don't need nowadays to go and check in the bank or in any other of this. So do we have any questions for this part? The fourth industrial revolution and the disruptive innovation that it brings?
I don't see any questions in the question pod as of right now.
Okay. So this disruptive innovation, the fourth industrial revolution, not only affected the way we live and we work, but the way we work as well. So the workplace and the workforce are undergoing a disruptive revolution per se. AI, automation, shifting demographics, globalization are transforming every job and every business. And this disruptive innovation has the potential to disrupt the labor markets as well. Over the last century, the machines have replaced workers in many tasks. And the main forces that are to prevail in this fourth industrial revolution will be automation and innovation. The technological progress has enabled firms to automate, replacing labor with machines in production, and to innovate as well, expanding the number of sectors, tasks, products provided. And the pace of this innovation will determine whether new jobs or tasks will emerge to counterbalance the old sector and the old ones, the old routine-based jobs. This digital economy has expanded the firm boundaries, and physical presence in our times, it's no longer a prerequisite to do a business. Firms in a digital economy can evolve much faster, from local startups to global reach, and often with just a few employees and some tangible assets. And so everything will be molded by this innovation, and usually in the form of a disruptive one. But where are the main trends when it comes to workplace changes? In a survey conducted by Deloitte and Touche in 2019 May, among the 500 Fortune 500 companies on the future of the workforce, 3 were the main trends to be expected in the 21st century, 2020, 2022 specifically. the alternate workforce is now a mainstream. So the self-employed, the remote workers, every kind of job that a gig economy encompasses in, it's not anymore an alternative. It's now a mainstream. And just the numbers show that by 2020, the number of self-employed workers in US are projected to triple. So the rise of the individual has changed the way organizations need to listen to and to engage with their stakeholders and to serve their employees and themselves as well. The second major trend is moving from jobs to super jobs with the help and the use of cognitive and AI. So the use of cognitive and AI is expected to increase significantly. The influx of technology has changed the way organizations need to collaborate internally to manage the potential adverse impact and the positive effects of technology and everything that it brings in the workplace. And it's really interesting how the third trend relates to leadership. Nowadays, the way we are managed is far from the traditional leadership perspective, because in the gig economy, we have remote teams, flexibility, new demographics coming in. So the organizations need to kind of reinvent their leadership approach with a new human focus. And this is expected by employees as well. According to the study, 80% of the respondents think that a 21st century will need a unique way, a unique leadership way of approaching the workplace. And reinventing means not only skills focused and skills based, but reinvention means foundational changes and incorporation and the use of technology at the core. As we said, the majority of the teams will be remote, so the leaders and the managers need to reinvent the way they manage these teams in order to be efficiently managed. On the other hand, the future of organization as in whole is definitely affected by this fourth industrial revolution. And nowadays, when we are looking for what we are looking for in an organization, like as a viable option for us to join or to work in, is first and most of all this meaningful work and workplace spirituality. From the same study conducted by Deloitte, having a fulfilling experience, doing meaningful work, and having an appealing work culture are the main prerequisites. Nobody in our times is prone or is like forced to stay in a stressful, toxic environment. That does not happen anymore. The second one is cooperation and teamwork. Cooperation and teamwork will still remain at the core of the organization corporate operation. And the third trend in the 21st century, fourth industrial revolution, is the society is trying to close the gap between the intrinsic and extrinsic rewards, the spiritual and the monetary on the other side. And when it comes to rewards, meaningful work needs to be accompanied by a good monetary reward. And this is the part that brings in focus exactly what we're looking for when we look for a job in the 21st century. These are the things when choosing where and how we work: money, security, time off, work environment flexibility. We want to be rewarded for our efforts, feel secure in our employment, and still have the freedom to stop and refuel once in a while. Also, we value working with great people and enjoying the time we spend on the job, together with the opportunity to work flexibly and develop new skills. In a study conducted by Indeed in May 2019 related to compensation and reward. Compensation is one of the main variables that attracts employees. They want to work for companies who value financial wellness. And it's well understood because financial wellness reduces financial stress and anxiety, so the employees can focus on doing good and great work. It will, in this way, they feel empowered by easing their financial worries and keeping them satisfied in both their professional and personal lives. And some of the most interesting answers to the question, which of the following factors would most attract you to a new job? Definitely it was compensation, and they added, what really gets me to read the entire job description is the salary range. Or another one replied, first and most important step in my online job search is using the salary filter. So the results of the questionnaire speak for itself, like the importance of a good compensation nowadays. It's a prerogative to getting and accepting a job. Flexibility is another one, is another variable that is becoming more common in the workplace nowadays, because today's work environment is very fluid. The structure of work has changed, and flexibility it's becoming a necessity more than an option. So in a study conducted by Zenefit, which is an HR staffing company, August 2019, 77% of the employees consider flexibility a must when evaluating a job offer. The number of small businesses, on the other hand, has grown to 67%, while 73% of the employees asked admitted that a flexible work environment increased their satisfaction at work. So in order for the companies not to risk missing out on great talent, they need to adapt and to respond to this change. And furthermore, another study in May 2019 by Indeed relayed that 30% of the employees are likely to reconsider their current employment, leave their current employer due to a lack of flexible work arrangements. One of the comments was, I don't think I could work for a company that didn't value work-life balance or trust me to do my job in another location. So being flexible in this case is a win-win scenario for both parties. Some flexible work arrangements will include from telecommuting, choosing your own hours, working from home, compressed work, part-time as well. But being flexible with your employees on one side, it's very, very beneficial for the business because it builds trust and commitment. It helps attract and keep talent, as well as drives everyone to find solutions to what works for everybody involved. And as the study indicates, the flexible work search is on the rise. And moreover, the attrition is down to 50% among telecommuters. And the saving costs per employee for the company goes up to $2,000 per year. So being able to adjust to this shift in organizational dynamics is pretty necessary, because on one side, those employees who are able to adapt to this shifting priorities are considered very valuable assets beyond what they bring skill set wise and experience wise. And on the other hand, the companies that will provide this flexibility to their employees will definitely have the edge in this area. But what skills will mostly change in this fourth industrial revolution? In such a rapid evolving employment landscape, the ability to anticipate and prepare for future skills requirements is very critical for businesses, for governments, and for individuals specifically, in order to fully seize the opportunities presented by these trends and the technological development, and to mitigate, on the other hand, the undesirable outcomes. So Some jobs will disappear while others will grow, and jobs that don't even exist today will become commonplace. According to the Fourth Industrial Revolution 2020 World Economic Forum predictions, 5 years from now, over 1/3 of skills, like 35%, that are considered important today in today's workforce will have changed. What is certain is that the future of the workforce will need to align to this new skill set in order to keep pace. So what skills will change the most? If we see both tables, like in 2019 and 2020, definitely complex problem thinking culture is at the top of the key competencies. And then it comes creativity. Creativity will become one of the top 3 skills workers will need in 2020. With the upcoming of new products, technologies, new ways of working, workers are going to have to become more creative in order to benefit from all these technological changes and challenges. Robots, yes, they can help us get to where we want to be faster, but that cannot be creative as humans. Well, not yet. So at the same time, the demand for advanced cognitive skills and skills combinations associated with greater adaptability, emotional intelligence, for example, will become one of the top skills needed in the 2020. Whereas it's really interesting, but negotiation, which is high on the list in 2015, in 2020 will drop in importance as the machines or using masses of data will begin to make the decisions for us. And according to the same study, people will expect artificial intelligence machines to be part of companies' board of directors by 2026. So that's an interesting thing to know as well. Similarly, active listening, considered a core skill in 2015, will disappear completely from the top 10. However, one thing that I'm definitely convinced is that in the future, talent more than capital will represent the critical factor of production. This will give rise to a job market increasingly segregated because we will have low skill, low paid jobs on one hand and high skill, high paid segments on the other, which in turn may lead to an increase in social tension. But this is an unavoidable part of the process that just comes along with it. Any comments, any questions about this section? Okay. So when talking in terms of the jobs landscape, the emergence of all these global platforms and business models and organizational forms will have to be rethought and redesigned. By a popular estimate, 65% of children entering the primary school today will ultimately end up working in a completely new job type that does not even yet exist. But as noted earlier, in the face of rapid evolving computer power, the ability to work with data, make database decisions will become increasingly vital, a vital skill among all the job families. As the amount of the digital information increases and all the information generated and stored will keep increasing exponentially. So the main top job families will be those related to AI, machine learning, and everything operated by computers and related to computer power. On the other hand, the biggest employment decline in any job family is expected to be in the office and administrative roles. like data entry clerk, accounting, bookkeeping, everything that an office or an administrative role entails, which normally are being expected to be negatively affected by a storm of technological trends and developments that will make them redundant, which are currently happening with cloud technology, big data analytics. And another interesting and expected change is the change in inventory and inventory related job families as well. Automation and checkout processes and smart inventory management through sensors and other applications are expected to lead to this decrease in the demand for traditional roles in inventory, store keeping, bookkeeping. So if we look at the employment outlook across job families, there is a strong employment growth among the business and financial operations, computer and mathematical, architecture and engineering, and normally management, and those critical skills will prevail. This is driven by technological trend, but also by the rapid urbanization in developing countries. On the other hand, we see a moderate decline on the manufacturing and production roles, and a significant decline, as we said, in office and administrative roles. The expected global decline in manufacturing and production roles is driven by the labor substituting technologies, 3D printing, robots, and also, on the other hand, by the resource efficient, sustainable products that will be used. It's predicted that 25 to 50% of the manufacturing jobs will be lost to robots in the next 10 years. And the fortunes of other job families will be the same as due to these same factors. And it's kind of a mixed scenario when it comes to other job families, but installation and maintenance, for example, will also come face to face with the efficiency saving and labor substituting aspects of the Internet of Things. So the fourth industrial revolution will change not only what we do, but also how we do it. It will definitely affect our identity and all the issues associated with it, our sense of privacy, notion of ownership, consumption patterns, how we cultivate our skills, how we meet people, how we nurture relationships. And in the end, it all comes down to us, to people and values. And we are the one that shape the future by putting people first and trying to empower them. So the fourth industrial revolution does have the potential to robotize us, but it cannot divest the human race from what's human and what's characteristic of us: creativity, empathy, stewardship. And it's on us to make sure that all this prevail. So this was the presentation for today. I apologize again for my voice. I hope I was clear and came through right. Do we have any questions, any comments?
Thank you, Olgerta. You sounded just fine. Thank you for powering through that.
Yeah, I did do that.
There are no questions right now, but we'll see if any trickle in just a second.
Okay.
No questions yet, just a comment in the chat. Very useful information. Thank you. There is a follow-up question there. What about cultural intelligence?
Cultural intelligence, definitely yes, because it will be part of the emotional intelligence. And in our times, like having remote teams means having people from all parts of the globe. And it depends on the company and how open and receptive is to diversity. But I strongly believe that the companies who are more open to diversity will have the opportunity to bring in more, let's say, more thoughts and opinions on a certain matter or issue, and have a variety of opinions, which will bring to more efficient decision making. So cultural diversity and cultural intelligence, yes, it's definitely in the top list, and I would put it close to emotional intelligence. That's how important it is, like around the middle.
Great, thank you. A couple more questions came in.
Great point.
One is, what is the indication of employer top priorities when looking for employees?
It applies, so all these top skills in 2020, this is where the employee and the employer perspectives like get joined, if I can say so. So the employer is looking for the same skills, like the ability to problem thinking approach, and to be creative, and to have that emotional intelligence, cultural intelligence, as we mentioned. So besides the technical skills, these soft skills, critical thinking related, are one of the main among the main skills that the employers are searching and will be looking for in a candidate. Oh, I see some questions. That's wonderful.
Yeah, there is another question. How important will it be for leaders to understand how to lead and manage remote teams?
Oh, probably it will be a requirement for them. Like, as we mentioned, like leadership is one of the trends, like Deloitte did that. Leadership is one of the trends that is changing and evolving in this 2020 perspective. So the way leaders lead teams, it's definitely one of them. How to lead them, and it's definitely one of the most important things that will change.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any other questions from our attendees today? Okay, it looks like you've addressed everybody's questions. So thank you, Dr. Visi. Of course, if you have additional questions or follow-up questions, you can certainly connect with Dr. Visi with the contact information that she's sharing here. Thank you for that, as well as posting in the comments. If you want to tag Dr. Visi in the comments or just start a dialogue there after our meeting today, please do so. We encourage you to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll be very happy to connect.
Well, thank you for your presentation today, Dr. Visi. We really appreciate your time, and thank you all who attended. We hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Abigail. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure joining, and I again apologize for my voice and my not perfect state of health today. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.